Every day, seniors walk into their doctor's office with the same complaints: low energy, brain fog, brittle hair, swelling in the ankles, and walk out with nothing but a pat on the back and the words, "That's just aging." But what if those symptoms were actually pointing to a silent thyroid failure that's almost invisible in routine blood work? This is the test that could expose it, and why so few people ever hear about it until it's too late. Hi, friends. Susan Miller here. Today, we're going to talk about something I wish I had known years ago. I've lost count of how many times I've heard my own friends say, "Oh, I'm just slowing down." But you know what? Sometimes it's not just age. Sometimes it's your body waving a red flag. And in this case, it's your thyroid, a tiny butterfly-shaped gland in your neck that controls more than you'd ever imagine.
That's right, Susan. The thyroid isn't just about metabolism or weight. It regulates heart rate, brain function, muscle strength, even your body temperature. When it slows down, a condition we call hypothyroidism, it can mimic almost every symptom we associate with aging. And here's the catch: standard blood tests can miss it, especially in older adults.
So let me guess, this is where we get into that test your doctor might not offer unless you ask moment.
Exactly. Most doctors run a basic TSH test, thyroid stimulating hormone. It's a good starting point, but in seniors, it's not always reliable. Research from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2023 showed that nearly 20% of older adults with clear hypothyroid symptoms had normal TSH levels. That means they were sent home without treatment.
20%? That's not a small group. That's a whole waiting room full of people. And I'm guessing this is where your silent thyroid failure term comes in.
Yes, we call it subclinical or even tissue-level hypothyroidism. Your blood levels might look okay, but your tissues, your brain, muscles, skin, aren't getting the thyroid hormones they need. That's why some endocrinologists recommend a free T3 and a free T4 test along with TSH. It gives a fuller picture of how your thyroid is actually functioning.
Okay, before we get too far, I want to take people into a real life story because I think this is where it clicks. Last year, my neighbor Margaret, she's 74, was feeling exhausted all the time. She stopped coming to our garden club, said her knees ached too much, and she kept forgetting things. Her doctor said, "Well, you're getting older." But then, by sheer luck, her daughter pushed for a full thyroid panel. Turns out her T3 levels were way below normal. 6 months after starting treatment, she's back in the garden, trimming roses. It's like someone turned the lights back on.
That's a perfect example. And here's the thing. Margaret's case isn't rare. A 2022 study in Endocrine Connections found that seniors with untreated mild hypothyroidism had significantly higher risks of depression, muscle weakness, and even heart failure. Yet they were often told they were just aging.
And I think that's what gets me. It's not just about feeling tired. It's about losing years of life you didn't have to lose, years where you could be active, sharp, independent.
Exactly. And if you think about it, there's a deeper issue here. We've normalized decline to the point that we stop questioning it. But the human body is designed to function well into later life if we support it. The thyroid is one of those key players. It's not supposed to fade away quietly. It's supposed to keep you running.
So what happens if someone listening right now thinks, "That's me"? What should they actually say to their doctor?
Great question. The best approach is to be specific. Instead of just saying, "I'm tired," explain the cluster of symptoms and how they've changed your life. For example, over the last 6 months, I've noticed more fatigue. My memory feels foggy. I've had unexplained weight gain, and my skin has become very dry. And then add, "I'd like a full thyroid panel, including free T3, free T4, and thyroid antibodies."
That's a script people can literally write down.
Yes, and don't be afraid to mention research. You can say, "I've read studies showing that TSH alone might miss thyroid issues in older adults." It signals to your doctor that you're informed.
You know, I can hear some people thinking, but won't my doctor be offended?
If your doctor is worth their salt, they'll appreciate your engagement. And if they don't, it might be a sign you need a second opinion. Your health is not about keeping someone comfortable. It's about keeping you alive and thriving.
David, I want to pause here because something you said earlier hit me. This idea that decline has been normalized. I think a lot of seniors almost expect to lose energy, to have aches, to forget names. It's like we've been conditioned to see those as inevitable.
And that's dangerous because, yes, some changes are normal, but many are not. If your thyroid is slowing down, you're more likely to develop high cholesterol, heart rhythm problems, even cognitive decline. The American Journal of Medicine published a study last year showing untreated hypothyroidism in seniors doubled the risk of developing dementia within 5 years.
That's terrifying.
It is. And it's why this conversation matters, because once you treat the thyroid properly, you can often reverse those risks, or at least stop them from getting worse.
All right, so we've got the problem, we've got the better test, but I feel like you're holding back a big but here.
You know me well. The but is this. Even if you get diagnosed, treatment isn't always straightforward. In seniors, the right dose is crucial. Too much thyroid hormone can strain the heart. Too little won't fix the problem. And here's where another hidden truth comes in. Your medication needs may change over time, so regular monitoring is essential.
So this isn't a one and done. It's an ongoing relationship with your thyroid.
Exactly. And here's the part most people don't know. Certain foods, supplements, and even other medications can interfere with thyroid hormone absorption. Calcium supplements, for example, should be taken at least 4 hours apart from thyroid medication. That's in the Mayo Clinic guidelines, but many patients never hear it.
I didn't know that, and I take calcium every morning.
See? Even the host learned something today.
Okay, so we've covered symptoms, misdiagnoses, better testing, and treatment nuances. But what about the people who think, well, I've had these symptoms for years. Is it too late for me?
Never too late. The body is remarkably resilient. I've seen seniors in their 80s regain mental clarity, physical energy, and even better sleep within months of proper thyroid treatment. One patient told me, I feel like I've been living in the fog for a decade, and now I can see again. That's the power of getting it right.
So friends, if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this. Don't accept every new symptom as just aging. Ask for the full picture. Ask for the full test. And next week, we're diving into something equally sneaky, the hidden signs of bone loss every senior needs to know before it's too late. You're not going to want to miss that.
And Susan, this is where the conversation often gets uncomfortable for people, because asking for more tests means challenging the assumption that your doctor knows best in every situation. I'm not saying they don't care. I'm saying they may be looking at you through the wrong lens.
Hello, we're excited to show you our native speech capabilities.
Exactly, but medicine evolves, and so should the questions we ask. Take a recent 2024 study from the Journal of Geriatric Endocrinology. They followed over 3,000 adults over 65 who had thyroid symptoms but normal TSH. Nearly a third of them were later found through full panels to have low free T3 or early autoimmune thyroid disease. A third, Susan. That's a lot of lives that could have changed sooner.
And while they were waiting, they were, what? Just getting worse?
Yes, but here's the thing. It's often so gradual. You don't notice how far you've slipped until something big happens. A fall, a bout of depression, a sudden heart rhythm problem. That's when everyone scrambles to figure out what's wrong.
I've seen that happen in my own community. My friend Leon, he's 78, fell twice last year. Everyone thought it was just bad luck, maybe weaker legs. Turns out his thyroid levels were borderline low for years, affecting his balance and muscle strength. No one connected the dots until after the second fall.
And those dots are critical. Low thyroid can weaken muscles, slow reflexes, even affect your inner ear balance system. This isn't just about feeling tired, it can be about safety and independence.
David, I want to pause there, because if you're listening right now and You've been chalking up little stumbles or dizziness to age. Maybe it's time to wonder if there's another cause.
Absolutely. And here's another overlooked link: cognitive decline. The American Journal of Medicine published findings last year showing untreated low thyroid in seniors doubled the risk of developing mild cognitive impairment. That's often the first step toward dementia.
That gives me chills.
And it's why I always tell my patients, protecting your thyroid is protecting your brain. Even subtle hormone changes can affect neurotransmitter balance and brain energy metabolism.
Which makes me think, why aren't we screening thyroid function as aggressively as we screen blood pressure or cholesterol?
Good question. Partly costs, partly old guidelines, partly the assumption that normal labs mean no problem. But here's the twist. When you catch these issues early, you save money long-term by preventing falls, heart problems, and hospitalizations. It's just common sense.
You'd think common sense would win the day.
You'd think, but it's often up to the patient to push for that common sense.
So if someone listening right now wants to go in tomorrow and talk to their doctor, how do they make sure they're taken seriously?
Be specific. Say something like, over the last year, I've noticed a steady decline in my energy, memory, and balance. I understand TSH is important, but I'd like to check free T4, free T3, and thyroid antibodies as well. I'm concerned about the possibility of subclinical hypothyroidism. That's the language that signals you've done your homework.
I can hear the pins scratching as people write that down.
And here's a tip. If your doctor pushes back, ask, what harm would there be in running these tests? Often it's just a matter of reframing it.
I love that. Keep it calm, keep it collaborative.
Yes, you're a partner in your care, not a passive recipient.
David, you mentioned autoimmune thyroid disease earlier. I think we need to dig into that for a moment.
Right. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune condition where your immune system attacks your thyroid. In seniors, it can progress more slowly, which means you might not get the classic rapid changes. Instead, you get this slow fade, energy dips, mood changes, muscle loss that everyone mistakes for age.
And I imagine that's frustrating for people.
It is, but here's the silver lining. If we detect antibodies early, we can sometimes slow the progression with diet, nutrient optimization, and stress management. For example, selenium supplementation, 200 micrograms daily, has been shown in multiple studies, including a 2023 trial in clinical thyroidology, to lower antibody levels in some patients.
So you're saying there are things we can do even before medication?
Exactly. This isn't just about pills. It's about supporting your body so the thyroid doesn't burn out faster.
This makes me think of Patricia. She's 81, lives in my building. She started on a thyroid-friendly diet after her daughter sent her an article, and she swears her energy improved even before her labs did. She says she can make it through her weekly bridge game without yawning now.
And those are the kinds of changes that make a huge difference in quality of life. It's not about turning the clock back. It's about making every year count.
David, I'm going to throw you a curveball. What about people who've been told their thyroid is borderline low, but not low enough to treat?
The gray zone. That's where many seniors live without knowing it. Some doctors will watch and wait, but in my opinion, if symptoms are interfering with life, a trial of low-dose treatment, monitored closely, can be worth it. And there's research to back this up. A 2024 randomized trial in JAMA Internal Medicine found that seniors with borderline low thyroid who were treated saw improvements in mobility and mood without increased heart risk.
So the old fear that treatment might be dangerous isn't holding up?
Not when it's managed correctly. Overtreatment can be risky, but careful dosing, especially in seniors, can be life-changing.
I feel like we're on the edge of something here. Like there's one more piece you're about to reveal.
There is, and it has to do with how often you should retest, even after a normal result. Because if you're in that gray zone, Waiting a full year can mean missing the moment when intervention could have the biggest impact.
And I have a feeling you're about to tell us that timing is everything.
It is, but let's unpack that after the break. So, Susan, about timing. When it comes to seniors and thyroid health, I recommend retesting every 6 months if you're showing symptoms, even if your last test was normal. The progression can be subtle, but surprisingly fast once it starts.
That's interesting because I think a lot of people assume once you're cleared, you can just forget about it.
Exactly. But here's the truth. A normal result is just a snapshot in time. If your thyroid is under autoimmune attack, or if your pituitary response is blunted with age, those numbers can shift within months. Waiting a year might mean catching it too late.
And that's when the bigger problems show up, like the heart issues you mentioned earlier.
Yes, or even more subtle things that chip away at independence, slower walking speed, reduced grip strength, or that mental haze that makes everyday decisions harder. The European Journal of Endocrinology published a 2024 study showing that even mild declines in thyroid hormone over 6 months correlated with measurable drops in mobility scores for seniors. That really drives home the idea that this isn't just about numbers, it's about quality of life.
Right. And here's another piece that rarely gets talked about: emotional health. Low thyroid function can flatten mood and motivation in ways that look exactly like depression. Many seniors are put on antidepressants when the underlying cause is hormonal.
That makes me think of my Aunt Carol. She was in her late 70s, had lost interest in her hobbies, stopped going out, just seemed flat. They tried antidepressants for almost a year. Only later did a new doctor test her thyroid more thoroughly. 3 months on the right dose, and she was back at her quilting group.
That's the tragedy and the hope in one story. The tragedy is the time lost. The hope is how quickly the right treatment can bring someone back.
David, for the people listening who feel like they've already lost years to this, what do you say to them? I say it's never too late. The body's capacity to heal is astonishing. I've treated patients well into their 80s who saw sharper thinking, better sleep, and renewed interest in life after balancing their thyroid.
And is it fair to say this isn't about chasing youth, it's about reclaiming function?
Exactly. You're not trying to be 20 again. You're trying to be the strongest, clearest version of yourself at the age you are.
I like that. Strong and clear. Now, before we close, I want to make sure we leave people with the courage to have these conversations with their doctors, because I know for some, that's the hardest part.
It is, and the key is preparation. Go in with your symptom history written down. Use specific examples like, I can no longer walk to the mailbox without stopping to rest, or I've forgotten appointments 3 times this month. Then connect it to your request. I'd like to investigate whether my thyroid could be contributing.
That makes it harder for a doctor to dismiss it as just a feeling.
Exactly. And if they still push back, ask, would you be willing to note in my record that I requested these tests and they were declined? That often changes the conversation.
That's a power move.
It's advocacy, and it matters.
David, I think today's episode is going to open a lot of eyes. You've given us the science, the stories, and the practical steps. And honestly, you've reminded me that we can't just coast through our health.
That's the takeaway. Stay curious, stay engaged, and don't accept unexplained decline as inevitable.
Friends, if you've been nodding along thinking that sounds like me, please make that appointment, ask for that test, and don't stop until you have answers. And if you need to replay this episode to remember what to say, do it. Next week, we're uncovering the hidden signs of bone loss that every senior should spot before it shows up on the scan. It's another one that could change the course of your health.
Looking forward to it.
Take care, everyone, and take charge of your health.